record on this. Hello, everyone. It is I, Bryan Davis, and Hayden Loomis. Darren is running late, so when he comes in, he'll probably be like, hey, just we're already in progress. So yeah. As always, this is Downstage with with the two of us. Although hopefully we'll be the three of us soon. We, as always, talk about this week in entertainment. But before we do that, Hayden, how was your week?
It was good. Nothing too crazy, just the way I like it.
Likewise, a little slow. It's going rain to summer, so it's very weird how essentially like last month it was May, and May was just like springtime.
Yeah.
Even before it was May, it was like 2 months ago. It was just April, and April was still feeling like it was still winterish.
Mm-hmm.
And then once April ended, it was like boom, spring. Especially in New York City. And then yes, and then once that ended, we have essentially 3 months of New York summer heat wave, which I assume down in Georgia will probably be even more excruciating brutal, because Georgia in the heat is just like I remember the webisode for The Walking Dead going into season 2 about them filming in Georgia and how hot it was, especially especially on the highway alone.
Oh yeah.
So I imagine Georgia summers compared to New York summers are, they're not mutually exclusive, but they're mutually almost the same.
Yeah, they're pretty much the same, more or less. In terms of
and
because
also,
yeah, being in both, I'm like, yeah, it's basically the same thing for the most part.
but another perk of New York summers, there's probably going to be more chances to see not only films and TV shows being filmed, but also going into our first story, people going to see Broadway shows.
Good
So,
segue.
yes, I'm getting better at segues. So I think what was it? Maybe either the last week or the week before, the Broadway League had put it in their notes saying that starting July 1st, they are allowing the option to wear a mask indoors to see a Broadway show, just as an option. They're not mutually stopping the masking per se. Staff members, people behind the scenes, the actors, unless they're offset, they put their mask on and whatnot. But to people going to see a show, that's where the line will be more, I'll say morally, morally questionable. Because hey, it's gonna be, July is the summer. Tony's already, came and went, and July and August are really, really dependent on not only people vacationing in New York City, but there's people just people going to see Broadway shows regardless. And honestly, I was part of the hustle and bustle of delivering tickets to see Broadway shows and stuff like that too. And it is a art form to see essentially not only maybe 1 or 2 shows a day, especially if you're going to see a Broadway show, but to see maybe a few shows per week, per weekend. That'd be, or per week, I should say. That's even more of a art form. And of course, with Broadway being in the dark for like over a year, like last year it was still in the stages of like reopening, but now it's like everything has like fully reopened. But a lot of it has also, it's like saying, hey, we get it, COVID shut us down. We really miss you all. But a few times I've now read there has been shows that have been COVID susceptible, if that makes sense. Basically, people are more prone to get COVID cash-wise because of this, because maybe of this one show. The Music Man is a great example. Sadly enough, Hugh Jackman and Stutton, I think her name is Stutton Foster, I believe so, but both have been stricken down with COVID, not once but twice now.
Jeez.
And Hugh Jackman, he's an amazing singer, amazing actor, but he's also the star of The Music Man. So you have to imagine going to see a show and then suddenly saying, "Oh, today, today's performance by of John Smith will now be played by instead of Chris, Chris Evans or something like that, is now played by
Chris Pratt.
Yeah, Chris Pratt." Sadly,
Because he's doing everything. Why not throw him in this too?
yes, understudy. No. That's Chris Pratt's real. That is Chris Pratt's real superpowers to understudy everything. I kid, but still, I don't think. I mean, I see Broadway still struggling going into the summer, and once August really hits around to see where everything is coming into, just coming into like not only COVID really, just COVID in general, but seeing how shows are regardless, it's definitely going to be an interesting summer to say the least, especially if you want to go see a Broadway show.
And it's also gonna be interesting too, because they tried this, I think, last summer, and we all know how all that didn't work out. So it's gonna be interesting to see if they can actually try this again and then see if it actually works, or if it's just gonna end up being an unfortunate repeat of last year, where they, said masks optional, and then more people got COVID, and then shows had to get canceled because of that. So then it's like, let's see if this time if it'll actually play out okay. Fingers crossed, of course it will, but I mean, as we already know, that might not. It might already possibly be repeating what the year before, essentially. Yeah. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Now, to come across, to continue off that point, sports, sports do it all the time now. If you're going to see a basketball game, chances are you'll probably be able to go in, and as long as you're wearing a mask, but when the moment you sit down, you can take your mask off. If you see like football and baseball, because they're outdoor, because the majority of some of the sports is outdoors, you could get away with not wearing a mask. Mm-hmm. But indoor performance, indoor sports like say hockey or basketball, you can still wear a mask, going in and sitting down. But the moment you sit down, you probably just take it off because who's gonna, what staff is gonna try and stop you from trying to wear a mask to make sure to wear a mask,
Yeah, I saw the same thing. I remember back when I went to see Spider-Man No Way Home, back in before the end of 2021, and I'd see masks people when they're kind of in that kind of main area before they go into the movie theaters or stuff like that. But then once you're in the movie theater, you see people taking the masks off, like you're saying. Yeah. So it's and because no one's gonna stop you really, because no one wants to be that person and possibly risk getting into a possible Karen kind of incident too.
And even I work as an usher, and I have to deal with people wanting to take off their mask, or the moment people sit down, they will take off. There will be some who would be like, okay, the mask stays on. I have a very comfortable mask. It's in a very comfortable position. I don't mind. And then there are people who just sit down, lower their thing, and just start looking at the phone because they need to unlock their phone or something like that, and just won't take off and put it back on. And of course, I would be like, "Excuse me, can you?" There we go. Thank you. And that's
And also a lot of theaters also do serve like wine as well,
oh yeah,
and like I think other kind of alcoholic beverages too. So then you also got that factoring in as well.
yeah,
Where like people have to take down their mask, obviously, to drink.
yeah, because concessions has always been like this, to say the least. If you're wearing a mask, it's fine, but if you're out because I think some of the main things has been, or maybe some of the theaters I know of, they don't bring as long as it's not like a water or like a bottle of water or something like that. You can't really bring the food or drinks into the thing anymore. So you have to eat the concessions outside and then go right back inside. As long as it's a bottle of water or something like that too.
Like outside, you mean go outside the building or just be outside in that little area?
Not like outside, yeah, outside of the building or outside in the
Okay.
hall, as long as people eat, what have you.
Like as long as you're not in the main like seating area, essentially.
Yeah, as long as you're not back inside the theater eating or drinking, what have you. And then suddenly it's like, oh, okay. But if you're in that, unless you have like regular water, and I say this as I'm drinking soda.
I mean, I just drank soda like a minute ago too, so
I know. But as long as you have like regular water, like a bottle of water, that's perfectly okay. Water is okay, but if it's like wine or soda or whatever else, you gotta drink it outside.
yep, water.
Now you bring out the water.
Yep.
But yeah, I honestly don't see this. I mean, I see this working well as it can, because I think at this point, Broadway is just about making money and a lot of people cannot see shows where it is strictly limited.
Mhm.
And
Also, given the past 2 years of essentially like
yeah,
losing money because of COVID and like
so
and then you're and having to be like situation. Oh, my theater is the one where people got COVID and got sick. Oh crap. So
yeah,
yeah, it is very much just like people just being like, okay, look, at this point, it's just unavoidable,
yeah,
and we've done everything we can. We just gotta hope everyone who's coming to the show has done their part. So just
yeah,
open up the floodgates. Let's just bring it on.
yeah. And I honestly think it's probably more along the lines of, hey, we really need to make money not as soon as possible, but a lot of these productions I've seen do close after, like, say, a few months on Broadway.
Mhm.
And that's probably because not many people are going to see the production, or, it's only a limited run. But some of these ones that are either limited or something to that effect, I think uh, uh, they are affected by people going to see not only, how many shows per whatever,
Mhm.
but also the masking policy too.
Mhm.
And as an actor, I'm perfectly okay of wearing a mask, behind the scenes, and then right before I go back on stage, hey, what's up? Back into my character or whatever, right? But the moment I'm back out stage, I'm like, sorry, put my mask back on, and I'm like just sitting down waiting for my next cue or something like that. Or just casually talking to one of my fellow actors, or better yet, part of the stage group, just making sure everybody's doing okay. Because I think that's another thing is just that, like you just said before, even if people are following code, right? I think after a while, people are just like, they just want to just sit back, relax, and enjoy a Broadway show, even if that means relaxing the mask mandate.
Mhm.
And like you said before, Broadway was hit heavily with not only limited seating, but also just like dealing with the COVID in general. So, but of course, there are going to be like other plays or other theaters that will say, hey, we will encourage masking because of how the stage is. American Buffalo is a great example of this. Because of the way the circle in the square theater, it's a very tongue twisting name, I know. I think, yeah, the circle in the square theater, of how intimate that thing is, because it's basically, you have a very close stage, right? But everybody else is like literally right around the stage. So it's like you're literally like so close to the stage that you can basically hear like the actors breathe almost on top of you. So honestly, if Lawrence Fishburne breathing, heavily, lowers, and he's about to yell too. Sure enough, you want to have your mask on so he doesn't want to flip out of character and then give you a Perry White yell of all things to you because you're not wearing a mask. Because again, this Perry LeBon has called out people who are not wearing a mask. So of course this is like way after the show is the show is of course ended in addition like a little talk back or something like that. But if you're doing a show and you see someone who is not wearing a mask, even though you are as an actor just like ready, like, and that's another thing. As an actor, you have to be more or less just programmed to see you. Yeah, just programmed just to see someone not wearing a mask, especially if they're like first or second row.
And also too, like you have to kind of program yourself too, is like if you're going to interact with that, you also then have to be able to put yourself back into the moment of the scene.
Yeah. And if you need any good fuel or something like that to give you more motivation during a scene to be angry, hey, use that.
There you go. It's like, are you supposed to really direct your monologue to the character? Well, maybe not this time. Maybe instead you'll just direct it out there to that one person. You see that wearing the mask, and just they won't know the difference. They'll think it's just part of the show.
Yeah, you just say.
I think it's just part of that immersive experience, It's like they want you, the audience, to feel what the character is feeling by having him yell right in your face.
But props to theaters, certain theater types, or just certain theaters in general, just saying, hey, we know that masking is going to be optional, but we at this theater prefer you to still be masked. I think Phantom of the Opera had the same thing, but with Eric basically saying, yes, I prefer to be masked too. Was something to that effect.
I feel like I would probably do the same thing. Like, yes, so a mask for us, but also can I just put one on too? No one needs to see this.
But yeah, honestly, I honestly don't know how well the masking policy will be like this, but honestly, if it gets more people back into seeing Broadway shows, more power to them. But I just hope to see more theaters being like, oh, okay, just because Broadway League says that masking is optional doesn't mean we want you to see it without your mask all the dang time. Still, when you do go see a Broadway show, still be respectful.
Exactly.
From Broadway, we go into film, and to film, we go into probably one of the most anticipated movies to be released on Netflix, Blonde. And a little backstory about this. For some reason, they keep on pitching Blonde as a biographical movie, even though it is based off a book. So it's a fictionalized account of Marilyn Monroe, and her life. So yes, even though it is based on her, some people are believing it is basically like almost like a straight biography, even though it's based off of a novel. So what is really interesting about this movie is that the movie is rated NC-17, which is a rare rating for a movie. I mean, there has been movies that were released as an NC-17, right? But previously they would be released, but then they would be re-edited into an R rating, so forth and so on. Sometimes they would have their ratings surrendered. So they were basically saying, hey, we tried, so we're just going to surrender the rating.
Mhm.
And it's just, I think it's usually released unrated or something like that.
Mhm.
But when there is a film that is released NC-17, that is usually because of like more strong nudity in general. Like people who think of NC-17, they think, oh, okay, porn, showgirls, Last Tango in Paris or something like that. Like really steamy, like really steamy movies that like really bend the line on what is essentially considered to be porn and what is considered to be art house and what is considered to be filmmaking or something like that. But with Blonde, the NC-17 is because of I think it is essentially for graphic sexual contact, but there's only 2 scenes that I know of that are being called about that. There is a graphic sexual assault, which it is, again, as we previously stated before, and I think the last episode, it is. I think it's Old Hollywood, and Old Hollywood is filled with a lot of that stuff happening. So even if it is to a person like Marilyn Monroe, it still has to be portrayed in a way that it happened, but it can't be portrayed in a way that is I guess glorifies it. There. And the other scene that I know of that is being one of the reasons why it's NC-17 is because there is a oral sex scene involving someone who is menstruating. So I'm like, okay, I can understand why that got NC-17. That may have been the reason why the movie itself was like, you gotta cut off that. You gonna delete that scene? No, okay. And talking about this movie in general, Darren comes in.
Well, perfect timing. Because we were all talking about this actually, I think, after we finished recording last week's podcast.
Yes, and you made it perfect time, Darren.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just in the middle of.
We're talking about the hair color none of us will ever be.
Yes.
The hair color?
Yes, blonde.
Blonde? Oh, I mean, yeah, I've always wanted to try it, but
No. We were just talking about the movie Blonde.
Oh, the movie Blonde. Oh, right.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh man, did you guys see it? Did it come out yet? I don't know.
No, it comes out in September.
September. Oh.
So
we're just talking about that particular rating that it has.
The NC-17 rating.
Right, and how it's like such a weird rating. I mean, like what does it have really?
Yeah, like the last time I remember an NC-17 rating, like legitimately out, was Michael Fassbender movie called Shame, where he played a sex addict. And of course, a movie like that, it has to be NC-17 because obviously it's dealing with not only a rough subject, sex addiction, but also they're showcasing it as not as a glorified glorified subject. They're not glorifying it as saying, oh, it's just something like someone who is drunk or something like that. No, it's much more of a experience for the character. And yeah, like that was the last movie I remember like they came out like in the like theatrically. And of course, theatrically, I mean, like there has been other movies that come out theatrically that probably have the NC-17 rating, but you know, that was some last one that was, yeah, that really stuck my mind into what an NC-17 rating is. I think maybe before that or after that was Blue was the warmest color, but that was like
Excuse me for a second, boys.
Oh no, they found you.
We'll just wrap this up in post. Oh wait, I don't have an editing program, so screw post.
We'll just do it. We'll do it live. Perfect.
Yeah, this is live. So.
I mean, well, yes.
My apologies.
All good.
Forgive me. Like, I literally just got in from the laundry, and like I put on a new shirt because I finally have one to put on. So I'm sorry. I haven't prepped. I apologize to the audience as well, but I will do my best to regain some dignity.
So basically, when it comes to NC-17 ratings, movie-wise, the last movies that I remember clearly were films like Shane, Blue is the Warmest Color, and I think it's called Nymphomaniac Parts 1 and 2. It's I know it's a Lars von Trier movie, so and Lars von Trier really skirts the line between R-rated and NC-17 or X-rated, or because you know, like when the man has to do graphic nudity, the man does graphic nudity.
Yeah, full on penetration. Yeah,
and like you know, it even gets to a point where it's like I forgot what movie it was with Willem Dafoe, but even he was like, William, Willem, I can't use you naked in this movie. I have to scale you back.
Yeah, that was Antichrist.
Oh, it was Antichrist? Okay. Yeah. But yeah, when it like that was like the only director that I know of that actually deals with like NC-17 like ratings like as best as he could. But when it comes to with a movie like this from Marilyn Monroe, a few people have basically said it is going to glorify her because as a sex idol, or yeah, as a sex idol, or something like that, and really will like skirt the line between her as a person and more along the line of her as a character of what you would think Marilyn would be.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you know, Netflix only releases like maybe a 50-second teaser, and the teaser really does show you there is going to be like a equality of who Marilyn is as a person, who Marilyn is when she is publicly out and about, or but yeah, with the public persona. There we go. And honestly, I think the NC-17 rating, it's a weird flex to do, but also at the same time, kudos to the not only the director and Netflix in keeping that. I mean, getting an NC-17 and having it released, like that still takes a lot of just a lot of guts just to do, because like when you hear NC-17, I'm like, okay, NC-17, like obviously the movie's probably gonna not make it that much money, and if it does make money, it's only because it's like in a limited market or something like that. But again, Netflix is a global conglomerate, multimedia, what have you. And here they are just basically releasing a movie that is going to be NC-17, but it's also going to be probably going to be, it may or may not be Oscar, like for the Oscar season too. Because you know they also think about the Oscar season as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, I'm pretty sure they had the discussions like, hey, you know, let's see if we can get Ana de Armas an Oscar nomination for Marilyn Monroe. Obviously.
Yeah, I definitely, I guess, I would like to. I can't wait till the movie comes out actually, because I do overall think it's more or less a marketing, tactic, But I guess I would like to see what makes it NC-17 as far as like what it tackles, because I know I mean, can most of us agree that the ratings for movies used to be a lot more different back then, when it came to like PG movies, like had a lot of PG-13 elements in it back in the day.
Yeah.
And PG-13 movies had a lot of R-rated stuff back in the day, so it has been changed. So I want to know like what they consider as NC-17, because there's a lot of other movies that are very graphic and very violent that just stick to an R. So
Yeah.
I kind of want to know what lines have to be crossed for an NC-17 rating. So yeah.
In terms of the MPAA, if it's violence, you can still get away with a graphic R, graphic R rating. A great example of this is the recent Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie that again came on Netflix, and that was also a movie that was re-edited from its original NC-17 rating to be more of a R rated because it was very graphic. It was a graphically violent movie, right?
Okay.
And they basically had to re-edit it just to be more mindful of, hey, how do we re-edit it into a more R-rated? Okay, this trim out a couple of scenes where the gore doesn't feel like it's going more gory for this couple of scenes.
Okay, well,
but I believe with the MPAA, when there's more sex in the movie, when the sex outweighs the violence or the cursing, I think that's more along the lines. Okay, when there's more sex in the movie, there's your NC-17 rating.
Okay, I got a question for you guys, but first,
actually, before you do that, I just want to kind of say a little funny comment to that. It's like with like the whole violence thing. It's like, oh yeah, like watch someone's hand get blasted off, like in your like you can see it with the shotgun. That's an R rating, but this not whatever could happen in Blonde, NC-17. Like
right.
And it's like, is it, and like, are they really going to be showing anything we in a way haven't already seen to begin with?
Yeah,
that's the thing.
In lesser rated movies. So
I think, and I had to re-look up this right now because apparently I was sure right. The original cut for The Wolf of Wall Street was NC-17, but Marty Scorsese was like, okay, I could actually make this more better. I could actually make this more, of an R-rated movie. And I best Marty Scorsese, of course.
Yeah. Now, here's something I gotta say. I find it funny that comparison with with like violence and sex, where like violence is a better chance of getting NC-17 rating compared to if it's more closer to violence. But at the same time, why do you think that they want to cater to like it being an R rating and not keeping an NC-17 rating? Because I understand for marketing purposes sometimes, but at the same time, you're not alienating that much of an audience either.
Yeah.
So like just from an NC-17 to an R, like it's gonna be the same audience. What do you guys think about that? Like, why do you think that they should just if the final cut is R or NC-17 or X as they used to do, like what do you guys think about that?
Honestly, between the NC-17 and R rating, you could honestly just be open-ended in terms of the type of violence you do in an R-rated movie. Like again, bringing back to the example of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the second movie of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, came out in '86, and that was actually released as an NC-17 movie because they could legally not find a way to make it as an R-rated movie. But nowadays, when you see it, come on thing, and be like, oh, it's rated R, something like that, because they honestly just probably say, okay, we can't really put it as an NC-17. Like Scarface is another thing where it's like Oliver Stone like literally had to put it under, like, say, I think what was it? I did it at least 2 times to figure out, okay, we can't figure it out, so I may as well just make this as brutal as possible, but at the same time, this cut has been released as an X-rated NC-17 rating, I'll just literally just say, hey, you know what? This was a rated R movie, even though I'm releasing it basically unrated. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there have been moments where people have been able to work around the rating system and just basically release a movie that feels like R-rated, but still release a PG-13. You know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. I honestly think Netflix is probably doing this for just from a marketing strategy alone, because this has been like worked around for the past like year or so,
Mm-hmm.
especially since it's been put into production, saying, oh yeah, since I think it made it either Cannes or maybe one of the other film festivals, saying, hey, this is gonna be Netflix's first NC-17 movie, even though they literally released a movie maybe a few months ago about a woman being a slave to a guy for basically a year. And
Okay.
yeah, and that's basically as R-rated as it could get, close to being NC-17. And compared to, but maybe they do it because of business, from a business standpoint, because hey, this would probably get more people to get a Netflix trial for like maybe for a month or a week or whatever. Saying, hey, this movie's coming out. It's NC-17. Let's try Netflix for a week or for a month or whatever.
Okay.
And then people like, okay, after a month they get more people. Like it'd be a way to get more people. But yeah, in my opinion, the reason why it's NC-17 is because they just want to get more people not only to watch the movie, but also maybe to get more people subscribe back to Netflix, because Netflix has been like so in flux in terms of subscribers. Like, hey, an NC-17 movie might actually bring people back to their subscription base.
Sure. Yeah. What about you, Hayden?
Yeah, I think honestly I think that's probably hitting the nail on the head right there, because like looking at how Netflix has been in such a flux for a while now, and then now they have like really their first, to my knowledge, NC-17 movie to come out on their platform, and especially when it's about a person like Marilyn Monroe, like that is such an iconic person, and to make an NC-17 movie about her life, like whether it is like fully true or like half true and then half like creative liberties and so forth, it's still going to be like one of those things that people are going to want to watch because of that alone. And then we add the NC-17, that's going to get people even more curious about, wait, you're saying it's NC-17, a rating we've probably never even heard that much about because you don't hear about it that much to begin with. Oh, this must be interesting. And it's like you said, Bryan, it's like they're gonna like get that free trial or sign back up for like a little bit, for like a month, just to watch it, probably have curiosity, and then just cancel afterwards. But it's like that can be a good like marketing way to get people back into like onto your platform. So I feel like that's also a big part of like why they did the way they did too. But I feel like there could also be another thing as well. Like it could also just be like old school mentalities about what in terms of ratings of what we classify as like what should be R, what should be PG-13, or what should be NC-17, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that could also be a factor.
I do want to read real quick. I'm on the official Motion Pictures Association website, and they have their ratings and what it like means or consists of. So for G, it's general audiences, all ages permitted, meaning nothing that would offend parents or viewing by children. Then we have the more standard one, which is the parental guidance, PG. Parents urged to give parental guidance, may contain some materials parents might not like for their young children. And then PG-13 is parents strongly cautioned. Parents are urged to be cautious. Some material may be inappropriate for pre-teenagers. And then we go to R, which is restricted.
Yeah.
Contains some adult material. Parents are urged to learn more about the film before taking their young children with them. And then we have NC-17, no 117 and under permitted. It just says clearly adult. Children are not admitted.
Clearly.
There used to be a great, there used to be a movie theater that was like in downtown Brooklyn, and unfortunately closed now. But they used to have a great sign that showcased all the ratings. You were like, if it was rated G, that's like rated G for everyone. And then they're like, oh, even the bunnies could go and see the thing.
Mhm.
But as the ratings go and more progress goes to R rating, and then you go into this NC-17, you have like the guy who's like in a trench coat and a hat just watching the movie, like trying not to be seen, and then there's that little bunny right next to him just watching as well.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I think when something is rated NC-17, there is an like interesting fixation about it. Because it's rare to get a movie that's like released NC-17, and it is rare to even see a movie that is presented as NC-17. Another great example of this movie is Killer Joe with Matthew McConaughey. It's done by William Friedkin, who has done movies like Exorcist and more than a few others, right? And the movie is legitimately NC-17 because of the violence it instills, but also there's, it has strong sexual contact. But there's also a scene where Joe, as played by Matthew McConaughey, basically forces himself on another woman by using a chicken. Yes, and it is not exactly funny how I describe it. It is very frightening to how it is, because it's basically he's basically raping her with a piece of chicken, and you watch and go, okay, I understand why this was rated NC-17.
Okay.
Go ahead. It shows why where it actually shows why in instances that rating works. Because in a movie like that, when someone gets assaulted by a piece of chicken, and it's a fried chicken, mind you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not grilled?
No, it's a fried chicken.
Is it from Kentucky?
Yeah.
Oh man.
This movie is sponsored by.
He even makes that joke too, because
Oh my god.
Because again, this is Matthew McConaughey. When he plays a character that's a villainous role, he will have fun with it. But at the same time, he makes it just sadistic in a way of just like he carries it out like he's like legitimately having fun with this person and making it more of a sadistic type. And again, I can understand why that was NC-17, because in an R-rated movie like that, you could only show like maybe a couple of seconds of it without showing it more, like showing the
more in detail of like the act that's happening essentially.
Yeah, that's what happens in movies. Like you see more in detail. Okay, this guy is really out of his fucking mind, and he's really assaulting this poor woman with a friggin' turkey leg or chicken leg, whatever it is, and just like, and you just see it as it unfolds, and he goes, "Good Lord!" And it's like, should I even be watching this? And I think that's what an NC-17 rating should do, is that if it isn't primarily for like a porn related movie, it should be reserved for movies that goes, should I be watching this? Because it just gives you more along the lines of, this is disturbing to watch. Should I be watching this? Like when The Wolf of Wall Street was like originally NC-17, that was only because of all the amount of drugs and sex in the movie, So they managed to cut it down to like the R-rated of it.
I mean, it's still clearly an adult movie.
Yeah.
It's like, pretty good just from the opening.
Yeah, like I don't know how the hell they got it to an R rating. It's still clearly an NC-17 movie, in my opinion. Especially how it starts. Like you have to cut that scene entirely just to get it out to R, I think.
Yeah, it felt like that was a situation where it's like the rating probably was NC-17, but then you just had someone kind of put a little sticky note over that, and then no one really noticed. And it's like, oh, okay, it's R now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like another great example of this is like R-rated movies that don't feel like R-rated movies. Like I can already come to mind, Joker. There are moments in that movie that don't feel like this should not have been rated R. This should have been rated more than of a rating that doesn't feel like an R rating, because it does have like violence that just is so disturbing to watch, where it goes, is this okay even for an R rated movie? Like, even when he kills Murray, spoiler alert, sorry. Sorry, folks, for a movie.
Oh, well, I guess I'm not gonna watch the movie now.
Sorry, folks, for a movie that's been out for like 3 years now, or 4 years going by. Oh yeah,
It's like 2019, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, spoil it away.
Yeah.
Anyway, even when he kills Murray, it's like it's a quick and sudden thing. But when he kills that coworker, that's even more of something that feels like, that doesn't even feel like an R-rated movie. That feels like something that's more primal, more NC-17. And of course, that it's R-rated because, hey, it's coming out with a legitimate film company, a production company.
Mm-hmm.
But I think at the end of the day, when there are films that are released as NC-17, it is mostly done as a business ploy. And for Netflix, I think the reason why they kept it released as an NC-17 movie is to, like, as we just pointed out before, is to get people maybe to get back into the Netflix subscription day.
Mm.
Not because it's NC-17. We need more people to come back to us, because they know that there are other streaming services that are kicking their ass, and they was like, hey, how do we get more people to come back to us?
Mm-hmm. They should bring back the X rating. I don't see it on his website.
Honestly, the X rating basically was what's the term? The X rating was just dissolved into the NC-17 rating back in the
Yeah, I know. It just extra sounds cooler.
Yeah.
I definitely I'd definitely be resubscribing my Netflix if it was rated X. I just want to be curious, like, what is that? What is this?
Now, going.
It's like, and also it's like a new X-Men movie rated X.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
And speaking of X-Men and comics, we gotta talk about Herogasm.
Cool.
You're welcome for the segue.
Yes, because we just talked about porn, we might as well talk about superhero porn. Like legit.
Oh.
Like legitimate superhero porn. I mean, that's how not Netflix. That's how Amazon Prime. There we go. That's how Amazon Prime was marketing the episode.
Yeah.
It was basically a big old superhero orgy, and sure enough, it was a superhero orgy.
Yeah, that's an NC-17 episode right there.
Oh yeah.
Even I was like, there was a scene that made me laugh so hard that basically goes, okay, even in a R-rated movie, that's just crossing the line.
Oh, I know what scene you're talking about.
Yeah. And I'm just like, the moment that happened, I'm just like, okay, even in an R-rated movie, you couldn't get away with something like that. In an NC-17 movie, yes. But
funny enough, like, if it's the scene I think you're talking about, it reminded me of this scene from like this very ridiculous like sketch comedy show called Whitest Kids You Know, and it reminded me of a sketch from that. Like, I'm not gonna describe it, I'm just gonna send it to y'all in the group messenger afterwards, because it basically reminded me of that. Like, that is how to spoil that episode with no context.
Yeah.
But from a marketing standpoint, I will agree. I mean, I will admit they were overhyping the gratuity of the episode, because I think it was more of an emotional episode than it was more of a gross out episode.
Yeah.
Because there is a scene where it's just Homelander himself, and he's looking at a mirror, and I'm just like, give this man an Emmy right now. I'm like, that is an amazing performance. And then you segue into more of the Herogasm stuff, and I'm just like, okay, I understand where they're going with this episode. hey, it's like when you're trying to market an episode for a superhero show, and one of the episodes just happens to be a superhero orgy. Yeah, I can understand where the more focus would be part of the episode in marketing.
Mhm.
But I would have marketed some of the other stuff that happens in that episode too, where it's just like, like Hayden was telling me before we started filming, is like that is probably one of the best episodes of the show itself, and that's like hard to do because it's like a rarity to have like one of the best episodes be essentially a few episodes before the finale, when it's like because the show itself is like they only have like maybe 2 more episodes left, and then that's it for the season. So having an episode like that, I'm like, wow. But yeah, I'm like watching this, and I'm like, and and watching the superhero activity happening, I'm like, good lord, there's stuff I'm watching. I'm like, that is clearly NC-17 stuff happening.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Clearly,
absolutely.
yeah.
Although I do have to disagree with you saying they should have marketed some of the other things that happened in the episode, because I think it actually does a disservice that they didn't. Because and this actually goes back to something I've said before with like movie trailers, where you see a trailer for a Marvel movie and then you can already predict what the movie's going to be about. So you're kind of going in and be like, okay, I know what's happening. None of these twists are really going to hit me because I can already tell what's going to happen. And then compare that to the Batman movie, where I still couldn't predict the movie, even while I'm just from the trailers. So then I think that's why it's great that they went so heavily into marketing this episode as just Herogasm.
Yeah.
Because that's where your mindset's going to be thinking when you're going into that. So then when that moment happens and everything shifts, it's like, oh my.
And they did.
Oh, and then it just keeps you on the edge of your seat for the rest of it, because yeah, I mean, no spoilers, but yeah, it is definitely so many great moments happen.
Yeah, so many great moments.
And actually also, even with the idea of Herogasm kind of almost being like in the secondary, because the main theme of this episode is vulnerability.
Yeah.
Because like that's what we see with like Homelander when he has that scene.
Yeah.
And that is just him like at his most vulnerable. And that's just him throughout this whole episode for the most part. Him actually feeling vulnerable and having to like confront that. And then we get a great scene with 2 other characters who are also end up naked. But then that's extra vulnerability because you're naked, but then you're having this like very like revealing conversation about who they are as people. And that's just a lot of what this episode is. It's just like seeing everyone's vulnerabilities, and A-Train's in particular.
Yeah.
Because I think this is his most vulnerable.
Yeah.
And the way, and oh man, like
the way it wraps up or ends with him, it's interesting.
I honestly hope that they end it the way I think they ended it, and we don't see it continue. We don't see that arc continue on, because I think the arc of what he was trying to do was honestly accomplished then and there.
Yeah.
Although although if that arc is finished, right, and we're not really talking spoilers, that would confuse me on the whole subplot of him eating too much, like eating his feelings too much. But if that connected to his main arc of the season, that would make more sense. But I do agree, though. Like the moment the Herogasm stuff happened, it really did deliver. And again, props to not only the show itself for doing both practical and visual effects, because again, there's a lot of it that made me go, oh wow, this is like, like, oh, I'm like, oh wow, I'm like, oh wow. It's like, oh.
Yeah, there's one visual effect where I was like, damn, that's a lot of rotoscoping.
Yeah. and it's like, and they brought back that one particular character from season 2, and it's like, of course they bring back that very unique character.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about, the rotoscope. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
It's like of course they'd have to bring this one back. Like for something like Herogasm, how could they not?
Yeah, that was quite a treat.
Well, the character was part of that event in the comics, so it makes more sense. So it's like, oh, this character actually happens to be part of the comic storyline that they're basing it off of. So
Well, it's also like, hey, great to know that the character didn't perish as one of the many who did in that season 2 like power asylum thing
Yeah.
place. So
what? Even though we were just talking about Homelander's scene, I do think that the scene where Soldier Boy is like slowly just like adjusting to the real world again, and he just talks about like you're like, hey, you're gonna need like Wi-Fi, all that stuff, and he goes, you made those words up. And there was a line that made me laugh so hard where it's just like, oh my god, this guy would not even understand what happened to this person like nowadays.
Yeah, it was.
And then just to cross the line twice, it is like, oh, but he made the best drinks. So I'm just like, oh my god. But
yeah, that particular character.
and then you just get Huey's reaction of like, okay, this is a lot to unpack.
He's thinking what everyone else is. He's thinking what the artist is thinking, hands down. Because I was like, he's making the right face I'd be making.
Yeah.
I just love how right now is like Huey's basically the audience surrogate of like how to deal with essentially not only the superpowers, but also just like just dealing with a person who's basically almost like Captain America, but even more of an asshole.
Yeah, it is a Captain America. Honestly, a more truer version of I think how that person.
Definitely more realistic take for sure.
I do love the fact that he's like he boasts the fact that I actually created this with this hot chick named Liberty, and I'm like, oh, I'm just like, oh my god, because I'm like, oh, I remember that character, and we all remember what happens to her. I'm like, but it's just like it just shows you not only as like the man really like Jensen Ackles really nails both the vulnerability side, but also the side of just being like this cocky, just like this cocky son of a bitch.
Yeah.
That we had to, that we grew, that Homelander really grew up idolizing to a point where his character is literally, he calls himself the Upgrade or something like that.
Yeah.
And
it's like you see Homelander's like hero worship. Yeah. Where it's like he kind of like saw who Soldier Boy was, but then he like internalized the negative traits about him and then amped it up so much more.
Yeah, but then you have like scenes where the Soldier Boy is showing like Jensen's really showing his vulnerability, and there's a scene where he's talking to Huey and he's just getting so angry, and Huey's just like slowly making sure he won't go radioactive, and I'm just like, and I'm watching this, I'm like, and I go, man, Jensen was really wasted for 15 seasons on Supernatural, because it shows you like how well of a versatile actor this guy is.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Supernatural like definitely showed that too, but yeah, like he is just so perfectly cast as Soldier Boy.
Yeah. And considering he was supposedly in the running to be Captain America back in the day, it really does make sense because he really does have that. Captain America-ness of being, my country right and wrong, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, this episode, I honestly think that, I'm more in the camp of they should have not overly hyped the Herogasm that much. I mean, just giving a little taste of what's going Excuse me.
Just like that one guy, just like that one character got a little taste afterwards.
Excuse my pun here, but give them a little taste of what's to come, but at the same time, show a little bit more about the craziness of some of the stuff that happens in the episode. Although I do agree that there is that scene where it is like the moment it happens, I'm like, wow, like this really does change a lot. Not only is this scene great, but that fight is probably one of the best. Fight is probably one of the best cinematic fights I've seen in a not only on a TV show, but also in a superhero show or superhero medium.
Yeah, that's actually that's a really that fight is one of the like better superhero fights that I've seen, and it's so contained too. It's not like people flying through buildings and stuff, but it's like it's so contained in this like 1.5 room, and like so many things happen, so many emotional beats happen, so many like even like one-liners happen that just work, and then and then this one character gets this hero moment, and like I literally like clapped for him. I was like, he showed up. I was like, yes, and like the camera like pans in on him like, as he comes in, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's good, that's nice. And I will say, I don't think A Train's arc is over yet. I definitely want to see what else like comes of how that episode ended with him.
Because they do have 2 episodes left, and A Train is still a central character still.
Yeah. So I want to see like what happens after how it ended with him. I did think what he did was badass.
Oh yeah, that was honestly like even with all the stuff with Herogasm, I was just more like, oh my,
yeah,
like that one, because the way they did that particular scene, holy crap.
Yeah, that scene, I felt that one. I think out of all the carnage, I think what he did was intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though what he did actually, what he did basically is what they call retributional karma, because the way that he did it harkened back to the stuff that he was talking about earlier that season about what happened to his roots and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know about what they did, what they did with lynching back in the day, what he did is an extreme form of what they did to people who were essentially lynched.
Mm-hmm.
So you can understand why he went that route. So
yeah,
especially when they kind of like open up with his character of taking the A train to Africa, like that little like show, like kind of like everything that he was like point. Essentially pitching for like so long in the season.
Oh man.
And also like what's her name, Ashley too, just like actually kind of just having a moment that's like, damn, you got a point though.
Yeah, no, actually the CEO woman, right?
Yeah,
Ashley, yeah, she had a great monologue that I was like, wow, that was really good. It was really good.
Now I imagine with these last 2 episodes, right, and this being like the most craziest of the episodes so far, I imagine with these last 2 episodes, and they just released the teaser for this week. I'm just like, okay, so how bad is it going to be for these last 2 episodes? Because we all know the episode before the season finale is the one that basically shakes up the foundation to what's to come.
Yeah.
But if Herogasm has already did that, what is episode 7 going to foresee with the show itself?
Well, I can imagine it will go like I'm the writer on the writer stuff, but I'd imagine episode 7 will just kind of deal with the aftermath of everything from episode 6, and kind of just like it's gonna be a slow burn, but like then characters are gonna definitely have a stance on certain things. Like these particular characters are gonna stand here. These characters are gonna stand here. Even like as it ends with Starlight. I think Starlight ends the episode.
Yeah.
With her speech. So like everyone is taking a full stance now, and I think it's gonna be like it's gonna just focus on everyone's stances and like how they get there and what they do next. And then episode 8. Oh man, that's not gonna be the last episode, right? 8.
Yeah, it's just 8 episodes per season with them. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. Which I think works well enough when you're doing a TV show.
Well, especially because these are long episodes too.
Yeah. They don't feel long at all.
Yeah, but for like, in terms of like what a TV show you normally expect too, it's like,
wait until.
But like they're able to do so much with like that amount of time that it's like you're saying, it doesn't feel like it's long at all, but like.
Wait until the Stranger Things season finale. That thing is a 2.5-hour thrill ride.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's this Friday. Okay.
I'm not sure they may or may not be releasing it I'm not sure if they're releasing it weekly just to be on the safe side, or that they're releasing both episodes at the same time, but they are releasing essentially whatever's up to season 4 or whatever thing. And
Yeah, I did hear it's just the last 2 they're gonna release at the same time. I did hear that, but I'm not sure.
But all I know is that with Kenobi having ended, Miss Marvel already in its mid stage where it's like it's actually in its groove now, and I'm like, oh, I'm actually intrigued where this is going now.
Mhm.
Because like the same thing with Moon Knight, where it's just like after the first 2 episodes, I was unsure where it's going, and then once episode 3 hits, I'm like, oh, okay, I know exactly where this show is going now.
But that's just also like the Disney show formula I've noticed too. That's like their first 2 episodes are like very, very slow burns. That it's like it honestly is one of those things where it's like if you already have an idea of the characters to begin with, that's going to be what keeps you invested. Because if you're just going off of like what they're doing for the first 2 episodes, it's not going to be enough.
Yeah.
Like with Kenobi, for a great example. First 2 episodes, I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then episode 3 with Darth Vader, I'm like, okay, here we go. And now I'm locked out because my cat is in front of the camera. But I'll keep talking for yeah. So, but then it's like episode 4. It's like, okay, now we're kind of backsliding. Episode 5 is getting a little better. Episode 6 it's got good moments. It's like with their shows, they're hard to really like.
Hard to read, essentially.
They're hard to read, but the one thing they have been consistent of is like the very slow burn first 2 episodes for sure.
Yeah. And for sure, and going forward, I think that's the same thing that I think Netflix has the same problem, which is that like people, and I think this is a good discussion to end on the thing this episode where it's like with Amazon Prime and Hulu and Disney Plus, they've been releasing a lot of episodes, like maybe the first 2 episodes or 3 episodes, depending on the series or show itself. And then they'll release the remaining episodes, like, one by one until it's like a thing. But with Netflix, they just release everything all at once. Well, with Stranger Things season 4, they released like the first, 6 episodes, and they were in their first, 6 episodes, and then they'll have the remaining 2, like, I guess either on Friday or the week after or what have you. But I do think with the strategy of releasing things either bi-weekly or weekly, I think that actually is a stronger thing because it actually gets more people interested in watching this thing. But still, the Netflix method of releasing all the episodes all at once still works because I was watching the new season of Umbrella Academy, which has been fantastic, by the way. Go watch it. Because the way they've been able to not only showcase what happened at the end of season 2 and doing the whole storyline with that, but they mentioned at the start of before the start of the series, before the start of the season, they mentioned that Elliot Page's transition in real life is going to be worked in the show. I'm like, okay, how are they going to do that for him? And then like, in the show, I'm like, that even makes even more sense given the character. And I'm just like, and I'm watching this, I'm more invested with this storyline than I have with any other thing that I forget. This, all these episodes have been released all at once, compared to say, all the weekly episodes from the other streaming services. But I think my question is to end the episode is between the pros and cons between releasing episodes weekly or releasing episodes all at once. What format do you think will probably still be the industry standard going forward?
I'll go first. I already kind of have my answer anyway.
Yo, you got it, man.
Yeah, so I think it is going to probably stick to that weekly one. Reason why is because what they're going to be doing is like keep an eye on like social media, because we release a show all at once. Great, people can all watch it immediately. But then the problem is the hype will kind of start dying down very fast because you can instantly just watch it all. Like depending on the show, you can just binge it all in a day. Like I've done that with some of the Cobra Kai seasons, just binge it all in a day because of it's just the way it is. But then if it's like a weekly thing, and then like they say, you know, like we've been seeing with a lot of the shows, first 2-3 episodes even, and then they just release weekly for everything else. And that's perfect, because then it's like, you, especially when you end a certain episode on the right kind of cliffhanger, you can then like like Cat Sophie agrees. That is like, if you like can sustain like a cliffhanger for each episode to then continually build up that hype, and then you get people to continually talk about it, and it'll continue to build investment, because then it'll get people being like, oh, that's going on. Oh wait, how many episodes are there? Oh, you're in the middle there. Okay, well, there's time to catch up, so I can quickly do that, and then it just makes it like, I just feel like it's a more efficient way to take advantage of the streaming service. Well, especially monetarily too, because it's like you do it all at once, you watch it once, you can just cancel your account then. Boom. And you just got a month for using it for a show for a day. Whereas with this, you have to really sustain that, because not a lot of the stuff is going to be like, okay, all out at once, right when it all drops kind of thing.
I agree. Enough said.
I think that's good. And to me, I have the fortune of being on both sides, where it says I love everything being dropped all at once, but at the same time, I love everything being released weekly. And I feel like the one weekly one gives you more of a sustainability going forward, especially if it's like, you know, with something like Kenobi, you know, it's like, oh, I want to watch Kenobi, but I'm gonna be like 4 episodes behind, and they're releasing the final 4 episodes like this week and the next week. So I'll sign up for Disney Plus for the month or for the week, and then hopefully by the end of that week, they're like, okay, I'll be able to watch the final 2 episodes, but at the same time, check out any other episodes, you know, check out any other shows that Disney has already have. So I have my curiosity to burn with other shows. And I think the industry standard going forward, they're probably going to be doing a mixture of two, depending on the format. I mean, depending on the format, but also depending on the show itself. Like, I know Disney Plus is going to be doing the I Am Groot like cartoon special coming out like in the next month or so, and because of it's going to be like a very short show. I think it's got like maybe between like 5 or 7 minutes, because there's gonna be like the same thing like those anime shorts that
like the Clone Wars ones, where it's just like a couple of minutes or so on Cartoon Network, and then it would just go right into the standard programming.
Yeah, and because of how short those things are, it's like I can understand them, you know, doing it like all at once for the whole day. It's like, so like, oh, be able to watch this in like maybe like half an hour or something like that, or 20 minutes, 25 minutes, whatever it be. Compared to say, hey, I want to watch. Excuse me.
Oh, good.
I think this is my brain for telling me to shut up quickly. It's just started by coughing. Probably didn't help that I was just over on the other side trying to fix a light, and I inhaled some old dust. So anybody who knows me, I am allergic to dust. All right, but still, but yeah, honestly, at the end of the day, I think the industry standard will probably be changing to the weekly thing. They'll release a couple episodes, and then they'll, you know, release like maybe 2 or 3 episodes, depending on how long it is. If it's a very long episode, you know, if it is going to be like a very long, long thing, obviously, it'll be like the first 2 episodes will be like, oh, first episode is like 40 minutes, the second episode is like 50 minutes, and then the following episodes are probably like 55, an hour, what have you, so forth and so on. Obviously, the weekly standard would be more better with that, but releasing it all at once, it does leave you burned out. And watching some of these episodes per, like watching like maybe 3 of those episodes per day, and then watching the next 3 episodes another day, that actually gives you like a little bit more leg room. But yeah, that's the end of the episode. I'm sorry if I had no.
Oh, the episode's done.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So I am late.
Yes, you are.
It's all good, man.
As always,
Also, just quickly say that fight scene in the recent episode of The Boys, that's some of the best choreography they've ever done for a fight scene.
Agreed.
and on that note, take care, everyone. Please be safe and be well.